In this tutorial, we are going to create this application which is known as Tic Tac Toe app. So what is the function of this Tic Tac Toe app? Whenever we type any value here, for the first time, let me refresh that page. And now we have basically the player 1 which have X sign, have to type something in any of these divs. I'm just taking that div. I'm just clicking here. It is mentioned as X here. Now player 2 have to enter something in any of these divs. And now you can see that it is looking active at the same time. So when I press on any cell, let's say I'm just pressing here, again player 1 have to type something, and the same condition. I hope you are looking and understanding in a well manner, and you can see that player 2 is winner, as here we have 0, 0 and 0 which are matching. So player 2 is the winner. I have to just press on reset. All the values are reset, and now player 1 have to type something. And at this time you can see that player 1 is the winner, and now player 2 have to type something. And no one is the winner. That's why a game is showing here that game draw. So again I have to reset, and all the game is reset now. So this is the project that we have to create in this complete tutorial. So without wasting any time, let's move in our VS Code and do all the code for this project. We have here an index.js component in which we are basically going to render our app component, and we are going to create all the code from scratch. And here we have created app component. I'm just going to type here RAFC and press enter. And here I am going to remove export, and here at the bottom I am going to export that component default app. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output, and here you can see that we have app world which is showing here. So what we have to do basically, here I am just going to take a div which is named as app, which class name is app, and inside this component we are basically going to have some components, like we would have some buttons and players, as well as a board in which we would basically play. So here I am going to take a folder because there should be no any clash, and our code should be looking a meaningful code. I am just taking it as components, and inside this folder I am just going to take a file named as board.jsx, and here inside this board.jsx I have to also write code. So the very first thing that I have to do, I'm just going to write RAFC, and here I am going to remove that export and writing it at the bottom, export default board. Just press Ctrl S and let me display the output, and here you can see that we have the option as board. What we have done here, we have basically written a board component, and inside this board component we are going to display simple board world, and this board component is imported in that app component, as you can see here. And in this app component we have basically that board component which is being shown here. So inside that component which is board, we have to write the code about board. So what we have to write here, I'm just going to use here React fragment, and inside this React fragment I am going to take a div, and this div is named as class name, and this class name is as board. And inside this div we are going to take some divs. These divs will be 9 because we have to basically make 9 boxes. So I'm just clicking here, I'm just copying it and pasting it at 9 times. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, and one more. Control V. Now we have basically these 9 divs, and I am just going to give class name, as input, and I am going to copy it and paste it in all the lower divs. Just press Ctrl S. And one thing more that we have to do here, we have to basically write here as board.css, in which we would write our CSS code. And here inside this CSS we have to write all the code. I have already written that CSS part. So this is for root and this is board. I have shown you the board class name which is holding all the divs basically. And inside this div we have some divs, and all divs would have an input class name. This is just for responsiveness, and this is for our input that all the divs would be holding inside our main div component. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output, and here you will see there is no output till now. I am just taking here random numbers, and here basically I have to write other CSS part that will be different from for all of these divs. Here I have to type input, just press Ctrl S. I have not imported our board.css here. Import quotation and dot /, and here we have to write board.css. Just press Ctrl S. And here you can see we have that option Let me create it for all of these. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output, and here you can see this option is looking awesome, but this is still not good. And here I have to also import our CSS part. Here I am just going to write import quotation, and here / I am going to write app.css. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output. Let me show you the code for app.css. Here is our app.css code. This is for main div that we have. Basically this is capital A. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output, and now you can see that it is looking awesome. And if you remember, we have to write all these values dynamically by the user. So how can we do that? We basically have to use here as useState. Here I have to use useState const braces, and inside these braces I have to write data, and set data is equal to useState, and here I am just going and to take an array as 9 components of that array dot fill, and all these values would be blank at the first time. And here I am just going to display as that data, which is basically an array here. So here I have to use curly braces because this is a part of our JS. This is our JS, so we have to write it inside these curly braces. I'm just going to display here as data 0. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output, and now you can see that here is this cell as blank. This is just because of our useState that we have used here. All the values are initially empty, and the total length of this array is 9. So I am going to copy it. Just press Ctrl C and move it in all the divs. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output, and here you can see that all the cells are empty initially. So what we have to do basically, whenever the user click on that div, there should be a function which is called. So here I am just going to type there should be a function for every div separately. Here I am going to type on click, and I am just using here a callback function which is a fat arrow function. So here I have to call a function type I'm just writing its name as type data, enter data. It's up to you, but I'm just going to take it as for a meaningful word. So here I am just going to pass a parameter as 0, 1, 2, 3, 8 components. So we have passed here 8 values. So here I am also going to make 1, 2, I have written these 8 indexes of that data array. Now just press Ctrl S, and we have called a function whenever the user would click on that div. This is basically our first cell, and all the cells are consecutively incrementing by 1. This is our first cell, second cell, third cell, and there are total 9 cells of this game. So whenever the user would click on this div, there would be a function which is called, this function is known as enter data, and we have passed a parameter here for every index separately. So here I am going to define that function and work with all that code. I am just using fat arrow function, enter data is equal to index is equal to, this is our fat arrow function now, and we have passed here a parameter known as index. With the help of this index, we would basically able to type anything with that data. I am just going to take here a variable of const type, values is equal to data. Basically I am just going to take, as this is an array, that's why I am going to take here 3 dots and the name of that array, and I have explained what is the meaning of these 3 dots in one of our tutorials. So you can go to that tutorial and see if you don't remember the meaning of these 3 dots. So here I am just going to take values index is equal to, this is basically the index which is passed by here 0, 1, 2, 3 to 8, and total 9 elements. So I am just going to write here anything, like I am just going to write here z, and here you can see that we have that value. This is an array and we are passing a parameter here which is basically our index, and this array's that index is equal to z, and now we have to basically set that data with our that values. Set data values. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output, and here you can see that whenever we press on any div, it will show us z here. I don't gonna to write here z, but I want when the first user click here, there should be a value, and when the other player would click here for the second time, there should be a value as changed, and again when our third time the first player would type here, there should be again changed value. So how can we do that? this is our enter data function, and inside this enter data function I have to take again a useState. This useState would be just to hold the values. Const, and here I am just writing current data and set current data is equal to useState, and its initial value would be x. I am just going to play with x and y. Our first player would have x and our second player would have y. So here you can see that our current data is initially x, and here I don't gonna to type as z. Here I have to type as current data. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output. Now you can see that on any div you click, its initial value is as x. So everywhere it is showing as x, but we are not going to use set state. That's why it is not updating the value. So now the question arises that how can we update basically this value? As you can see that whenever this function is called, there is always a div called. Basically there is always an action performed on any of these divs. That's why this function is called, and whenever this function is called, every time the value should be changed for this data. So we should have to write here as if, I'm just going to take here a space, if current data is equal to x. If our current data value is as x, I have to set here set current data as y. I have written here that if our current data is x, then we should have to write set that useState with y, and now the value would be updated with y, and here I am just going to type else if our current data is equal to y, current data is equal to y, then we should have to set that current value, set current data as x. So you can also remove that if condition, because if it is not x, then definitely it would have the value of y. So this is the condition, and here we have written if it is equal to x, then its value should be updated with y, and we can also write here as else if the current data is equal to y, its set value would be automatically updated with x. So we also know that it have only two possibilities, that either it can have x or it can have y. We can also change y with any other elements. It's up to us. And here I should also have to write same. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output, and here you can see the first element is x and our second element is O. Now what we have to do basically, I am just going to remove that part of code because we have only two possibilities. either our current data would have X or O. No, just press Ctrl S and you can see the same output. What we have to do now, we have successfully written that code, but it has still an error because whenever we click on any button, let's say this div is already filled, and whenever I again click on that div, you will see its value is changed. So we don't have to change that value, because whenever any div is filled, it should not be refilled again during one game. So how can we do that? I'm just writing all the code with that condition. Just press Ctrl X, and here I'm just going to take if. Here I have to write a condition that data index is equal to empty. Just press Ctrl V, and here I have written that if that arrays that index which is pressed at the same time is empty, then we should have to do all that code. Otherwise we don't need to type here any code. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output, and here you can see whenever we type here as X and here O, again when we click on that div, there will be nothing happen because we have made a validation with if condition. So what we have to do now, I am just taking it as, I am just writing here as two players, player 1 and player 2, and their signs as well, so that you may come to know that what is basically player and its sign. Here I am going to take another component, players.jsx, and here I have to type RAFC. I am going to remove export world from here and just going to write it here as we have seen only this structure. Players. Now just press Ctrl S, and here inside this app component we basically have to import that component. Import. Here I have to write players from components.players, and at the bottom of this board we have to display these players. I'm just going to take here self closing tag. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output, and here you can see these are showing here as player, as we have only a world here which is players. So what we have to do here, I am just going to take this is as main div, and I am going to take here as class name which I have already created, players, and inside this players I have to take two divs. This is our player 1, and we would have a second div which is as player 2. Just press Ctrl C and paste it again here, and inside these divs I have to write player 1 and its sign as well. And here I have to write player2 and its sign, and I should have to give here some CSS code. Player, and here is the same class name as player. No, just press Ctrl S, and let me make a CSS file here. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output. We have basically not imported our CSS part inside our our place component. So I have to import our place. Now I have successfully imported our CSS part for this component, and here it is showing awesome. You can see the player1 and its sign as well, and the player2 and its sign. I can also write here quotations, Ctrl S, and move to our output. Now you can see these are showing here the options inside these quotations. So what we have to do now, we want whenever there should be a winner or withdraw of that game, and it should have to show here a result as well. So we have done almost this part. Now it should, as you can see, here are also same, and here as well. So we should have to type here functions inside this board, because this is our main board and it is also checking for all the validations, and we have all the data here. That's why it will check which player is going to win, and if there is no player is going to win, what we have to do, we will simply display here a message that there is no one player winner. So how can we do that? The very first thing that I have to do is to check which player is going to win now. So I have to write all the data inside my that code. Basically I am going to take another function, because whenever the user will type anything, there should be a function which is going to check winner. I'm just writing check winner. Now how can we check the winner? I'm just going to create that function as well. So here I am going to create that function check winner, which is basically our fat arrow function. Check winner is equal to, I have to create that fat arrow function. I have written here an array, and inside this array we have these possibilities that if these values are same, are the divs basically, which are our 0 first and second div. If these divs are filled and the values are same, then it should have to take we can have anything that it can make here alert or any world change. So I'm just going to take here as world change. I'm taking const, and here I'm going to write 1. There is someone 1, that's why I have written here 1. I am just passing here the value as false. This is initial value. 1 is false right now, so that function would return the 1. Either this one would be false or true depending on the condition. So here I have to write the conditions now. I am just going to take here a loop. The very first thing that I have to do, just type the name of that array, which is conditions. Array name. Just type here as conditions dot for each. Now this is the structure of our loop basically. So we have to type all the code inside these braces, inside these parentheses. I am just going to take here a fat arrow function because we have to pass some values here. I am just passing here a parameter as element, and I can also pass here index as well. So for our comparison, we basically don't need our second parameter, which is basically showing to our index. So here I have written element. And why this element? This is a parameter. So when we pass this parameter would represent to all these elements inside that array, which is named as condition. Here I am just taking a condition that if I'm just going to pass here a parameter. And what is that parameter? I am just taking that parameter values. I am passing here values. Values is basically an array. Now I am passing that array as an argument or a parameter inside our check winner function. So here I have to type values, and I have to write braces, and I have to type element. Again I have to type braces and write 0. Now what is basically happening? This values is our array, which is initialized to that variable. Our data array is initialized to that variable, and that variable is going to pass here. This is our complete array, and we are just writing here that array, which is data, and inside this data I am just displaying here element, which is basically pointing to all these elements inside the array of conditions. So values, this values array, and inside this values array I am just typing here element. This element is for the first time is going to show that that element, and for the second time that element, and so on. So it will sequentially start from here to our end element automatically. So inside if we talk about our first round, so for our first round we are just typing here element, which is showing to our zeroth index of conditions array, and inside this array we have another array which we are pointing here as 0, its 0 index. We are basically writing here it should not be empty. We have written here that if our that array's 0 index is not empty, what we have to do now? We have to write and again we have to type values and element. Again we have to type here braces, which is as 1 for the second time, is not equal to empty. If our that array, which is here, that we have all these conditions basically, so if these conditions are successful or these conditions, now we have to again check something. So for the first time we have to check that these values should not be empty, because only these conditions would be able to make someone as a winner. So here I have to type element, and inside this element I have to type again braces, and inside these braces I have to type 2. This is basically our these arrays are 3. All these arrays have 3 elements: 0th index, first index and second index. It will compare for each. If some index is not basically following to our this if condition, so it would not move to our this conditions inside body. So if any of these values would satisfy that condition, again we would have a condition, and this condition would here show that if our this array and this array value and this array value, all these elements or all these values are equal, that if all these equals are x, or all these values are o, that we have written in our that code of board. Here we have written we have only 2 values which are x and o. So we should have to type here that if all these 3 elements are equal for any loop of these values, for any iteration of this loop, so what would happen? Just let me write here values. Inside these values we have element, and inside this element we have 0th index. We are just writing equal to 3 times. Again we have to type values. Inside these values I have to type element. Again we have to write braces 1. If this element of values is equal to this element, again we have to type a condition. Again we have to type and. Here we have to type values, and we have to write these braces. Inside these braces we have to write element, and inside this element I am again going to compare the values is equal to values, and inside these values I am just writing element 2. Now what is happened basically, if all these values are not empty for any iteration of our that for loop, what would happen? The control would move to our next if condition, which is inside the body of our main if condition. Now we are going to check if all the values are equal, means if all the values are x or if all the values are o, then what we have to do, we are just going to type here as 1 is equal to true. Now just press Ctrl S. Basically we have to return something, because if this function would return something, then we would be able to type here as true or false. So I am just going, let me check what is basically the main brace of that function. Here is the main brace of that function. So I am just going to return here return 1. Now this one variable would have either false or true. If that variable would have true, it means that someone is won successfully. But if this variable is false, it means no one is the winner. Now if no one is the winner, what we have to do? Let me check it. For the time being, if someone is winner, what we have to do? If check winner, I am just going to make here alert. Someone won that game. Just press Ctrl S. And I am going to refresh that page. Again I am going to type here. It is showing every time. Let me see what is the problem. If check winner, we basically have not passed any value that with which array it would compare, because we are calling that function here which is check winner, and we are passing an array here as well. So here we have worked with that value which is an array basically. So here let me check. I have to pass the value as here values. Now just press Ctrl S. Now it would basically measure all the check winner elements with that array that we have passed with while calling that function. We can also change the values here. It's up to us, but here the value should be same. Just move to our output and refresh that page. It have shown here a problem. Assignment to constant variable. What constant variable we have used here now? Here we have again used constant. Let me make it as var. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output. Now you can see it is showing here alert that someone won that game. And again I gonna refresh that page, and for this time I am just going to win our second player. It is again showing that someone won that game. So now you can see that when someone won that game, it is showing here alert successfully. So basically we don't gonna to make here alert. We have to type further a code for a button, and there is no basically button. It would be just a message. So I am just going to make here again a component. I am just typing here message .jsx. Here I have to write RAFC, press enter. export default message. Now here inside this code, for the time being, I'm just going to display message. Just press Ctrl S, and now move to our app.js component, and inside this component I'm going to import our message component. Here I am going to show that message component. I'm basically going to show it at the top. Just press Ctrl S, and here you can see it is showing the message that we have written in our message component. Let me make the CSS for this message component as well. I have already created the CSS code for this message component. So I will show you, just wait for the moment. Here I am just going to take a button. I have to write here as class name. The class name would be winner, and again we have a class name, and this class name is winner text, and here we have to take a button. This is just for reset. Now press Ctrl S, and let me import our index.css file, app.css file. This is our winner code, and this is for our button. This is for our shrink. I will tell you what is shrink basically, and what is the function of this shrink CSS. Here we have button focus as well as winner text. So now I have to import this file inside our message component. Import dot / here I have to type app.css. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output. Module not found. We have a problem with CSS because we have not the CSS inside that component, but we have that CSS outside of that component. So how can we use this CSS? In our app component we have used that CSS directly, but this is outside of our app component, of our component folder. We can also import that CSS file. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output, and now you can see that it is looking awesome now. We basically have to write here a condition, and this condition would not be shown at that message, but it would be shown inside our app component, because this is our main component and we would work with both with the help of that component as well. What we have to do basically, we want if there is someone as winner, that code would make some alert. Basically it is not going to show alert now. What we have to do, we just have to pass a value here, and we should have to set that value globally, and this component value would be accessible at message as well as in our main component, which is our app component. In other words, our app component is also known as parent component. Just press Ctrl S, and here I have to type all the code. I'm just going to take a CSS here. I'm just going to take a useState here. Const here. I'm just typing winner. Set winner is equal to useState, and initially its value would be empty. Now just press Ctrl S and move in our message. Basically we are going to pass this winner to our message. I have already created a tutorial on props, that in how many ways we can use the props. So one of the methods would be used here. I'm just going to type here as winner is equal to, I have to type here curly braces, winner. Now this winner is basically passed to that winner, and that winner is now used inside our app, inside our message component. We have passed that winner to that winner variable, and this winner variable is passing as a props to our message. Now just press Ctrl S, and I'm just going to receive that message here, that winner. We have to write here curly braces. I'm just typing here winner. Now we have successfully got that winner here. We have to use that winner. I'm just going to take here on click. On click. If someone would click on that button, what would happen? Reset function would be called. So I'm just going to take here a reset function. Reset is equal to window.location dot location dot reload, and I am going to create it as a function. Control S, and let me move on the output, and here you will see whenever I click on that button, the page is basically going to refresh. So what we have to do here inside my app component, I have created a useState function, and I have passed this value, and here inside my message I have received it, and I am just going to create here inside this code. I'm just cropping it from here, so I am just going here to use curly braces and backticks as well, and inside these backticks I have to paste that code, and I have to write winner. Basically I am just going to make it as a condition. If winner, then empty. And for the else case, it should be as string. So basically I have to write it inside curly braces, Control X, and here I have to write dollar control V. I have to write here curly brace and here as well. And inside these curly braces, I have first written that if winner is true, then what to do? If winner is equal to basically empty, if winner is empty, then it should do nothing. If winner is empty, then we should have a class as string, and for the else case there should not be any class here. I have just written that if winner is empty means no one is winner, then it should shrink here. What is shrink? Shrink is basically going to hide that code. Just press Ctrl S. Whenever someone is written, someone is winner, I have not written the code about this updated state. If someone is winner, I have not used here set state. So basically I have to use the set state inside that board. So here I am just passing winner to that board. Winner is equal to winner. I'm just going to make a new line here. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our board component, and inside board component here I have to take curly braces and pass the value of winner. Just press Ctrl S. Basically I don't need to write here winner. I'm just going to use set winner because I have to basically work with set winner. Ctrl S, and I'm also going to pass here as set winner. Set winner. So I have passed the set winner to that winner. Just press Ctrl S, and here I am also taking winner because I have passed the prop as winner. Just press Ctrl S and move at the lower side, and here if check winner is successful, what we have to do, we have to basically display the message. Winner, and if it makes some confusion, you can also write set winner. It's up to you. Set winner, just press Ctrl S, and now you should also have to write here as set winner because this is the variable that is being passed to our board component. Here I have used set winner, and inside this set winner I am just going to write as true. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output. And here you can see that this option is successfully came. Whenever anyone is the winner, this option would come, and if second player is winner, it is also showing here a button. Now we want to display all the code. Now we want to display the player, basically which player is the winner. We want to display it with the same button which is showing here when someone is winner. So how can we do that? Inside our message component, we have to pass another thing. Inside that board, we basically have to write here as we have to see while this set winner is true, we have basically to crop it right now. No, Control Z, and we have to check if our set winner value is equal to x, because for every time it will check it. If set winner, and here I have is equal to x, then it means that our first player is the winner. I can also write here as a alert, but I cannot going to write here as alert. I am just going to set the value as set winner, as I have passed here set winner. So if set winner is equal to we don't gonna write here set winner, but we are just going to check if the current data is equal to x. It means our first player is the winner. Set winner player 1 is the winner, and for the else part, else set winner, and here we have to type player 2 is the winner. Just press Ctrl S, and here you can see that the winner is basically the winner variable have basically the value of which one is winner, and this value is taken from our app component. Basically we have in app component used a useState, and we are going to pass our winner to our message component. We have passed it successfully, and inside our message component we have to display here which one is the winner. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output, and you can see that whenever any player is winner, it is also showing here player 1 is the winner. Just reset it, and again whenever player 2 is winner, it is also showing here the message player 2 is the winner. And this project is still not completed, because you have seen that whenever any one of these two players is the winner, it would show here that which player is winner. But what about if no one is winner? So we have not completed the part for no one is winner. Here player 1 is winner. I have pressed on reset, and at the second time I am just going to win the player 2 to display the output. And here you can see it is showing here that player 2 is the winner. But what if no one is the winner and game have to be withdrawn? Let me show you. Here you can see that no one is the winner, but that game is not showing anything. So we should have to display here as withdraw game if no one is the winner. So how can we do that? Let's move in our code, and inside our code I am just going to create another function, and this function would check basically if our game have withdrawn or not. So what are possibilities that game is withdrawn? There are basically two possibilities. That the first condition is all the elements should be filled, and the second possibility is that no one is the winner. If it satisfies these two conditions, that no one is a winner and all the elements in all of these divs are filled, then it would say that game is withdrawn. So I am just going to take here a function const. I am just writing the name as check draw, and here I would pass a value. This is not basically a value, this is an array. I can have any value here, it's up to us, but I am just taking the same name as we are going to use values. We have basically these values as an array, and here we are going to make some conditions. So the very first condition is if all the divs are filled, and the second condition is if no one is the winner. So how can we make these conditions? Let's say we are going to check if all the divs are filled. How can we do that? If values, and inside these values I am just going to pass an index. Let's say I am here representing I am initializing that that index where count is equal to 0, and here I am just going to pass count. If count is not equal to empty, that our first condition is that no not even a single div should be basically empty. So we can have this this condition is basically checking if our count is filled or not. So if our value is not empty, then we are going to make count plus plus. But here it will check only for the first time. Here we basically need a loop, and this loop would check it for 9 times or multiple times. It's up to us. How can we check it? I have to use here basically a loop. So how can we use here a loop? I am just going to make iterations for this array. This array is here passed as a parameter dot for each, and inside this for each I am using a callback function. Here I have to use that callback function is equal to, and I am just taking curly braces, but inside we have to pass a parameter, and this parameter would basically represent to our array, and this array is values. I am just writing element, and here I will make a condition. Here I have basically written values dot for each. I mean inside that array for each element we are going to check, and here I have to write condition if here I am going to write condition that if count if arrays if element, this element is going to represent that value, and that values is nothing but just an array. If all the elements inside this array are basically going to make iteration, and this element is automatically going from start of that array till the end of that array. So I am just writing here not equal to empty. I'm just saying that if all the elements inside this array are not equal to empty, then what we have to do, I'm just writing here count plus plus. So we have a second condition that if all the elements are filled and if no one is the winner, so I am also going to make here the same condition, because if our elements are filled, then it would show the alert that uh, draw is successful. I have a spelling mistake. Check draw. I'm just writing check drawn, and here I am passing if all the elements are empty, and if not check winner. Let me see if our function is check winner. Yes, this is our check winner. If all the elements are empty and no check winner, then it would basically make increment in count plus plus. Outside of that loop, we are basically going to check if count is greater than equal to 9. If count is greater than equal to 9, what we have to do now? We have to basically set winner. Let me see. Here is set winner. If count is greater than, let me see what is the problem with that if condition. We have basically written that part outside of our array control X, and we know that this parenthesis closing tag is the termination of that array. This is the endpoint of that array. So here I am just going to make this condition. If count is greater than equal to 9, what we have to do now? I would just return, that function would return something. Return as true, and for the else case, it would return here as false. Just press Ctrl S. I am going to take this condition outside of this loop. This is not basically loop but the condition. This is the closing tag of this main condition, and here I am just writing check drawn, and here I have to pass that array which is as values if check drawn, and here I am going to set winner because I have displayed here set winner. Let me show you. In our message box I have displayed here as winner, so now I have to make updates with that winner so that the message would return it. Set winner. Here I am just writing game draw. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output. Refresh that page. No one is the winner, but it is not showing here the message. So what is the problem with our code? Let me check it. We have basically one mistake, that we have not passed here the values, and it is going to be true for every time because we are going to use it without any parameter. So here I have to write values as well. So now I have to set game draw with our set winner. Set winner as game draw. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output. Again I gonna type here the values. And for this time it is showing here game draw that we have updated our useState, that we have updated our setState. Now you can see that that game is working with player 1 is winner or player 2 is winner. If no one is winner, it is going to show us a message that game is draw. So what we have to do now, I am just going to make these values of these players as dynamically change, so that we may come to know that which player is basically active or working for. So how can we do that? I'm just going to highlight the conditions. I'm just going to highlight the players at that time, which one is basically going to make inputs. So how can we do that? I am in my board component and I am just passing here some values. Basically I need to work with our players now. I'm just going to work with our player component, and to that player component we have to pass some value. So what can be this value? We are just checking which is our current player who is going to work for. I am just going to crop it from our board component, because this is our child component and our main component or our parent component is app component. So I'm going to paste it in our app component. And inside that app component I am passing data and current data to that board dynamically as of props. Current data is equal to set current data. Basically I have to close that component at the outside of these props. Here I have to pass one value again. Current data is equal to current data, and now I have passed these three values to our board component. Just press Ctrl S, and inside that board component I have to receive these props here. Current data and set current data. Just press Ctrl S, and now we have passed these values successfully. These values are from our useState, and useState is now defined in our main component, which is a parent component. Just move to our output and check if our output is working successfully or not. Player 1 is the winner. Player 2 is the winner. Game draw. And now you have seen that all these possibilities are working successfully. We have passed basically these values inside our board as props. These are props parameters. So we have also to pass these values to our message component, not basically message component, but to our players component, because we are just going to highlight these components, that which component have to type now. I have to also pass these values of current data to our players component. I am just writing current data is equal to current data, set current data is equal to set current data. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our players component, and inside this component I have to pass here these values as props. We have to use here curly braces, and now we have to set current data and set current data. We have passed these values here, so here we have to use these values. Now just press Ctrl S. We basically don't need to work with that set current data because we are not going to use here set state, but we would work with that current data. Here I am just going to use curly braces. Just wait for the time being. Just press Ctrl X, and here I have to write backticks. Inside these backticks I have to paste this. We have this CSS here, so I have already explained it in a deep. Let me show you in our message component. Here I have written it that this is class, and this class is basically depending on that winner condition. So the same thing I am going to do here. Here I have to write $, and inside that $, I have to check if current data is equal to X. If current data is equal to X, then what we have to do, I have to use here as ternary operator. I'm just going here as I have to write here quotations fill. I'm just writing FIL, and for the else part it is just empty. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our player.css part, and inside that player.css part I have to use that fill class, and I don't gonna write here border. Just press Ctrl S and put this border here. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output. Here you can see that it is showing here basically an output that which player have to work. So I have used it only at player 1, so I have to use it with both of these players. Now just press Ctrl C. I am going to copy that whole code. This is for our CSS part and quotations, everything as well. Ctrl C, and here I am going to remove that code and paste the new one. Here I have to check O. If our current data is equal to X, it means that player 1 have to add something, or player 1 have to fill any of the boxes, and if the current data is O, it means player 2 have to fill any of the boxes of that game. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output. Refresh that page. Here when I click X, and no player 2 have to fill any of these divs. I'm going to paste it here, here as well, and now you can see that it is looking awesome. And I can also change the background color as well. So let me see, I have not written any background color here, so I'm just going to write here as background color. What background color should I have to give? White smoke. No, just press Ctrl S and move to our output. It have basically removed almost our text. Our text is not visible. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output, and here it is looking awesome now. And always player 1 have to work for the first time, or player 1 have to fill the box, any of these boxes at the first time. So our project is still not completed because we are not basically going to create that game. Our main focus is for the learning of React.js and its all functionalities and components as well. So what I have to do now, basically I am going gradually to make our steps for the advanced part of our React.js. So here I have to use our advanced part now, because inside that message, instead of that windows.location.reload, I don't need it, but I have to make some changes, like if the reset button is clicked, what we have to do, we have basically that array inside board. Let me see, this is the array, and this complete array should be empty when we click on that button, and that button would call that function which is reset function. And whenever this reset function is called, all the values of this array should be here as empty. So how can we do that? There are basically two possibilities that we can do. The first and easy possibility is we can remove that useState from here and paste it inside our main component or parent component. So here I can also paste that code here. And the second possibility is we can also use here as context API. So I am just going to paste it inside our parent component. And for the first time, let me crop it from here and paste it inside our parent component. I'm just pasting it here, and we have to pass that data and set data to our board component. Data is equal to data, and here I am just going to type set data is equal to set data. Now just press Ctrl S, and here I have to also receive these values as data and set data. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output to check if it is working or not. You can see that it is working successfully, and it is also fully responsive. Let me show you. Till now our project is looking awesome, but now we have to pass our that data and our current data, basically our set data, to our message component from our parent component. And this is our parent component, which is our app component, and here I am just passing set data is equal to set data. Now just press Ctrl S, and here inside our that players component we have to also import set data. This is our players component. I don't gonna write it inside our players component, and I also don't need here set current data because we don't gonna use it. We are basically going to make here inside our message component, and here I am just passing the value as set data. Set data, just press Ctrl S, and let me confirm if it is really passed to that value or not. Inside our app component I have to check it, set data, and inside our message component we have set data. This is same, and here I gonna set the data, set data array, and this array's length is 9 dot fill, and it will be initially empty. Whenever the user would press on our reset button, all the data should be empty. And we have to also set the winner here, because no one should have true winner whenever our reset button is clicked. So inside our app component we have winner component as well. So I have to pass our set winner component. I'm just writing here as set winner inside our message component. Set winner is equal to set winner. Now just press Ctrl S and move inside our message component, and here I'm just going to pass set winner. Set winner, and here I am also going to set winner as empty. Here we have set winner and set data as well, but inside our app component we have passed only two values as props. So we have to pass another value here, which is our first is set winner, winner and set data. I'm just passing it here. Set data is equal to set data. Now just press Ctrl S, and now the player 2 is the basically first coming here, because page is not going to refresh. So it would go sequentially. Here game draw, and player 1 have to type something. And here player 1 is the winner, and now player 2 have to work or enter the values. Now player 2 is the winner, and player 1 have to type something. So you can see that this is looking awesome now, and I hope you understood this project till now. We can also make these values dynamically, and these values can be entered by the user, and these values can be either in the form of a form or just by a div is up to us, because we can take here two input types, the first input type, the second input type, and a button, and that whenever we click on button it can show here the names of that players that we have entered basically. So let me check its responsiveness, and now you can see that it is responsive for all the devices. And we have passed all these props, and we have passed here in main component, which is our parent component, app component. We have passed all the use states from our parent component, and we have passed these values as props, and inside the respective components we have got these values and work on these values as well. So this was all about today, and we will see more advanced sections of React in our next projects. And I hope you understood this project in a well manner. And this is the problem, that set data is not a function. So let me check it. Here we have set winner and set data as well, but inside our app component we have passed only two values as props. So we have to pass another value here, which is our first is set winner and set data. I'm just passing it here. Set data is equal to set data. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output. Whenever I click on that page, you can see that all the error is gone, and now the player 2 is the basically first coming here, because page is not going to refresh. So it would go sequentially. Here game draw, and player 1 have to type something. And here player 1 is the winner, and now player 2 have to work or enter the values. Now player 2 is the winner, and player 1 have to type something. So you can see that this is looking awesome now, and I hope you understood this project till now. We can also make these values dynamically, and these values can be entered by the user, and these values can be either in the form of a form or just by a div. It's up to us, because we can take here two input types, the first input type, the second input type, and a button, and that whenever we click on button it can show here the names of that players that we have entered basically. So let me check its responsiveness, and now you can see that it is responsive for all the devices. And we have passed all these props, and we have passed here in main component, which is our parent component, app component. We have passed all the use states from our parent component, and we have passed these values as props, and inside the respective components we have got these values and work on these values as well. So this was all about today, and we will see more advanced sections of React in our next projects.